How's it going, guys? Cody back again, dropping yet another video. Right, guys, as you can see from the title, this story is about Strangeways, which is my former prison, and it's about them reducing the capacity of visits amid the coronavirus pandemic. Now, for those that don't know, Strangeways is a maximum security facility here in Manchester. It's locally known as Strangeways, but its official title is HMP Manchester. It's a maximum security facility. Even though it's a maximum security facility or a Cat A prison, it only actually houses 40, give or take, Cat A prisoners, right? And they're housed on their own wing. E-list prisoners and Cat A prisoners and stuff. The rest of them are Cat Bs and Cat C prisoners within the prison. It's a local. I've been there myself. I was on remand there a few years ago. I'm going to do my bit. I'm going to do my bit at the end, and I'm going to read the story, guys. So, link in the description below, like I always do. Headline reads: Strangeways prison to reduce capacity of visits amid coronavirus pandemic, and everyone will have their temperature taken at the door. On Wednesday, an inmate at HMP Manchester became the first prisoner in the UK to be officially diagnosed with the disease. Strangeways prison bosses are to reduce the capacity of visits amid the coronavirus pandemic, and everyone who enters the prison will have their temperature taken at the door. Bosses at HMP Manchester, Strangeways, said the move is to create more space between families when visiting. We understand that this will impact on the number of available visits, but our aim is to maintain family ties for as long as possible throughout this challenging period, they added. Anyone with a temperature of 37.8 degrees or above will not be allowed in. On Wednesday, March 18th, it was confirmed that a prisoner at HMP Manchester had tested positive for COVID-19 before being taken to hospital. The man became the first prisoner at any UK jail to be officially diagnosed with the disease. No other staff member or prisoners at the Manchester institution have tested positive, the MOJ have said. Bosses said 13 prisoners have been put into isolation and 4 staff told to self-isolate as a precaution. The MOJ said healthcare professionals are assessing on a case-by-case basis whether offenders should be treated in prison or taken to hospital. Now, the prisoners announced changes to visits. In a tweet, HMP Manchester said, "We have taken the decision to reduce the capacity of our visits to create more spaces between families when visiting. We understand that this will impact on the number of available visits, but our aim is to maintain family ties for as long as possible throughout this challenging period." They always repeat themselves in these things. Right, bosses added, "In response to the current situation, we are taking the temperature of all visitors on entry to HMP Manchester. Unfortunately, those with a temperature of 37.8 degrees and above will be unable to gain entry. Thank you for your understanding." Asked if there are extra visiting sessions will be put on, bosses said, "We will monitor the situation, and should the men and families indicate that the visits are not sufficient, there is scope to add additional sessions subject to risk assessments and the situation at the time." Prison bosses also tweeted an image of a hand washing facility, urging visitors to use them upon entry. Now, like I've said, again, guys, I'm going to repeat myself a little bit compared to the other videos that we've done about the coronavirus. It's becoming more widespread, right? We've seen cases now, confirmed cases, Winson Green Prison, also known as Birmingham Prison or HMP Birmingham, right? Oakwood, Wymot. Wymot's a Cat C next to Garth, up near Preston in Ulneswater. There was a case at HMP Usk or USY or whatever it is, USK, up in Scotland. There's been a riot situation at HMP Addiewell that happened at the back end of last week. Could be related to coronavirus, might not be. Prison service in Northern Ireland have cancelled all visits, even though there was not one confirmed case over there. Obviously, a preventative measure. Prisoners won't see it like that. So all visits in Northern Ireland or possibly Ireland prisons, definitely Northern Ireland, have been cancelled. Prisoners are scaling back on the visits. I've said this previously, guys. I said this last week. It's a matter of time before they put prisoners on closed visits or they cancel visits altogether. When they cancel visits altogether, you're going to see riots. You're going to see anger. You're going to see tension. Tension's already in prisons. And guys, just because there's only you had the officer at HMP Highdown tested positive, you had HMP Kilmarnock, 2 prisoners confirmed with positive tests for coronavirus up in Kilmarnock in Scotland, right? Like I've said, Wymont, Birmingham, right? Oakwood, right? The facts are, guys, yeah, it's in prisons, right? And it's extremely dangerous. Look at Strangeways, guys. The first confirmed case was here in Manchester at Strangeways Prison. Now, Strangeways Prison is a decrepit, run-down, dilapidated Victorian prison. Breeding grounds for viruses and infections, right? And this is the thing. Family visits are an integral part of keeping prisoners' heads on their shoulders when they are in prison. It's a morale boost for the prisoner. It's a morale boost for the family, the girlfriend, the wife, even the children, right? Like I said, if you go down to HMP Exeter, they're not permitting children to... Oh, no, sorry. HMP Exeter, yeah, they've stopped children going on visits. HMP Berwyn in Wrexham, they're saying that one prisoner can only have 2 visitors per prison visit, right? Then they're scaling back at Strangeways in the visiting hall. Now, let me just... I've been on visits in Strangeways. I've also been a prisoner in Strangeways. So they've got these little hand sanitizing stations and stuff. The visiting hall, you've got like a little, it's shaped like a hexagonal 50p pence sort of thing. And everybody congregates there and meets there and stuff. And you get processed and stuff, do your fingerprint, right? So you're in close proximity with other people. Then you go up to the main building, right? In a line, everyone's queuing up, taking the shoes off, taking the coats off, putting them in the little grey trays and stuff, going through the x-ray machine, getting scanned, getting a stamp, right? All together in close proximity, right? You get through that stage of security, you go upstairs, there's like a big seating area and a desk. Eventually they'll clear it, everyone sort of runs to the as quick as they can to get in line. If the sniffer dog's on, you'll sit, there's 4 seats, one in front of another. You'll go through 4 at a time. One will sit on each chair. Sniffer dog will come past. If it signals on you, you're in a world of shit. Hopefully you're not stupid enough to do that. And then, like I said, and then next step is you go up and then you put your hand under a UV light and then you get through and then there's a button and you go through a turnstile and then you're in the visiting hall. So you're all in close proximity, right? And you're all intermingling and stuff, and you're all putting your fingerprint on the same machine that everyone else is putting it on to read your fingerprint to make sure you're on the visitors list and stuff like that, right? But then when you're getting into the visiting hall, after all that cross-contamination period and stuff, and you're all in close proximity, when you get into the visiting hall, they're scaling back on visits. Now, are they doing it as a preventative measure because they're contradicting themselves in the security aspect of the prison, right? Or is it just preventative measures? Because like I said, certain prisoners that think logically, right, will be like, you know what, right, we understand it's a bastard, right, and it's not the best, but we care about our loved ones and we don't want them getting infected with this deadly virus. Other prisoners that don't see things logically, right, will be up in arms about this, thinking that it's some government conspiracy that they're trying to fuck with prisoners and prisoners' families and prisoners' friends and prisoners' visits. Prisoners in Strangeways, without the coronavirus, are spending 22, 23 hours a day locked up, right? I've heard longer periods. Forest Bank Prison, which is a Category B, Rambo, those jokers, Sodexo, right? Prisoners are being locked up for 23 hours a day. There's no education, there's no industry, so no workshops, no education, no gym. You're literally allowed out of your cell for 1 hour to go on the exercise yard. If you choose not to, you stay in your pad. That's what's happening, guys. So like I've said, and I've said it last week, it's a matter of time before they put prisoners on closed visits or they cancel visits altogether. Now, let's Google Italian prison riots, coronavirus. See, I think there was 12 dead. Google Colombia prison riot, coronavirus. Ruthless jails, kids getting killed left, right and centre. Right. There's just been a story that I've just read 5 minutes before doing this video. Back end of last week, there was a riot, mini riot, not a full prison riot, but contained to one wing within HMP Addywell, which is just south. It's in Addywell, obviously. south of Livingston in Scotland. So again, are they just rioting because they're pissed off because the complaints are being ignored, or the regime, or the way they've been treated, or whatever, or is it coronavirus related? I leave it up to you guys to decide. I've got my own thought process regards to this. But like I've said, another thing you need to take into consideration: there is over 1,000 prison officers currently off work, self-isolating through the coronavirus. 1,000. This is in a prison population where the prison population's dropped. I think it's around 84,500 or 85,000, right? But there's a distinct lack of officers. Then you take 1,000 officers out of our 119, 120 jails that we've got, right? It's causing problems. And unfortunately, the domino effect of that, who's it going to impact the most? Prisoners, guys. Prisoners. That's what's happening. Less time out of your cell, controlled unlock. For those that don't know, controlled unlock. Rather than opening one cell at a time, going from one cell, opening that. No. They go to one cell, they open it, you come out, you go and get your food. Because in Strangeways, for example, the hot plate is like your hot plate's on the wing. You walk across the hot plate, you get your food, and you go back to your cell, you're locked up, they let the next cell out, and so on and so forth, right? And this is the thing. But prisoners, they like to do a bit, right? And by doing bit, like I said, obviously it's not a secret about the influx of drugs within prisons, mobile phones. We know about all this, not blowing anybody up. And it's like a marketplace when the social, for those that don't know, social is association, when you're out and about on the wing and you can play pool and go get a shower and post your letters and get on the phone, or do a bit of hustling, or whatever you're doing, grafting or wheeling and dealing or buying and selling, whatever the industry might be, it's what you get up to on social, right? So association's affected. So prisoners are limited in their time where they can, oh, listen, bro, even though burn tobacco is banned, it's still in prison. When you ban something, obviously we've got the smoking ban in prisons now and everyone's vaping. But like I've said, where you've got contraband, you've got debt. Where you've got debt, you've got fear, intimidation, bullying and violence. And like I've said, when you ban something, it doesn't just disappear. No. It gets pushed underground, it becomes contraband, and the price goes up 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, depending on supply and demand. If you're in the prison and you're the only person with that, say it's spice, for example, which is a drug of choice for a lot of people in prison. If you were the only person with that drug, you can charge a premium. If you've got several people on the wing selling the same drug, you've got to bring your prices down because you'll be undercut by somebody else. It's business. Like I said, business goes on in prison as well. It goes down that way. But like I said, guys, it's a matter of time. For me, like I said, I'm speaking to prisoners up and down the prison estate, right? From Cat Ds to Cat As, right? And there's a growing tension within the prisons and stuff, right? Prisons are not happy. Now, like I've said, people on the right side try to say, oh, what do you mean they're not happy? They're convicts, who cares? There's still people, guys, right? And like I've said, I can't reiterate enough, right? Like, people are given a prison sentence, are not given a death sentence, right? And with the state of Strangeways being a decrepit, run-down fucking Victorian prison where you wouldn't keep a dog, men are living there in close proximity, right? And like I've said, just because you're not seeing more confirmed cases within our prisons doesn't mean it's not happening. All it means is that the prison bosses are keeping a lid on it. And if you've got a loved one, right, and he's contracted coronavirus, or he tells you there's a confirmed case, he's got no reason to lie. If he tells you there's a confirmed case within that prison, you should be contacting the media and getting it out there. It puts pressure on the prison. The prison probably won't act anyway, but get it out there in the media. Prisons are big news, right? Prisoners are big news, right? And like I've said, the more I'm seeing all these things, the Prison Officers Association, oh, we're in contact with Her Majesty's Prison and Probation Service, we're going to put out a circular to our members and stuff, right? The POA are the Prison Officers Association. They're about prison officers. The PGA, the Prison Governors Association. Yeah, prisoners have got partners of prisoners like POPs and like Howard League for Penal Reform, Prison Education Trust, Prison Reform Trust, Howard League for Penal Reform. All these great organisations. But nothing, like I said, they're all academics, these people. I'm just my own kid. As an ex-con, I'll tell you straight, I care more for prisoners than you'll understand. Not nonces, bacons. No. Rapists, kiddie fiddlers, grasses. Nah, got no time for nonces and all that stuff. People always ask me as well, why do you say nonce? Why do they call them bacons? Bacon, bonce, nonce. Goes down that way, guys. But like I've said, the way that the prison system is, prisoners are literally sitting ducks. And when you go to prison, you don't age the same health-wise that you would if you was on the out. You're living in prison with a fake light, because they've got these like fucking fake lights, like they've got in the cell and on the wing and stuff. Depending on what prison you're in, you might have recycled air as well. Like I said, people get vitamin D deficiencies in prison because of lack of light, because they cover the window. Like I said, you might get out for an hour a day on the yard, on exercise, depending on what prison you're in, what regime you're running, and stuff like that. But like I said, they should be releasing prisoners. This is another issue I've got as well. They should be releasing prisoners. Of course they should. Now, like I've said, they're not good. Sex offenders shouldn't be released early. No. If you've got 12 months left, 6 months left on your sentence, right, or you've been knocked back for your tag, or you're an IPP prisoner, I believe all IPP prisoners should be released. It was abolished 8 years ago, but not retrospectively. Many prisoners, years and years over tariff, lost in the system, waking up every day without a release date. Yeah, they've got a parole date, but they've even parole things now, guys. Face-to-face parole hearings, that they've put them on a back burner. That's going to clog up the system. They're continuing to send people to prison as well, by the way. See, this is the thing. The whole country is now on a lockdown, right? Courts will still continue to operate. I genuinely do believe that. And they will continue to send people to prison. And by sending, so they're saying, oh, we're spreading out the visiting room and stuff, so families keep 2 meters apart and all this sort of stuff. But then there's Jack Jones there that's been done for shoplifting, right? And he's been out and about and he's been touching this and he's touching that, and he's not the cleanest of persons, right? And then they're still sending people down. It's a fact, right? And then they're sending him to prison. So we're trying to prevent prison visits and stuff like that to stop the prevention and spread of this virus. And we've got a laser temperature thing, and you point it at someone and it tells you what their body temperature is, right? And if it's over 37.8 degrees, they won't be permitted entry to the prison. But then you've got Jack Jones, who's just been doing for shoplifting a leg of lamb. There's no meat in the supermarket. I become a fucking vegetarian, vegan by fucking default. So he then gets sent to prison. He might have been injecting drugs. He might be doing whatever he was doing, right? And then he's sending him to prison. So preventative measures in place in one regard, right? And then in the other regard, they're sending people to prison that could be carrying this virus. Then they go on to an induction wing. And then they're like, like I said, a lot of prisoners are clean, a lot of them aren't. And they're like, and they're coughing and they're spluttering, right? For me, this is an airborne disease. I know people say, oh, it's not airborne. It's been contradictory things. I'm not an expert on coronavirus. I'm like everybody else. I'm a thick, uneducated street kid, me, right? So he's coughing and spluttering. He's touching door handles. He's doing this. He's doing that. He's sharing his space with somebody else. He then gets shipped down to the main, right? He's contaminated his pad mate. His pad mate stays up on the main. He might go to another wing from the induction wing. See what I'm saying, guys? It's like a spider's web, right? And this is the thing. Nobody cares about prisoners, right? And like I've said, yeah, we've made mistakes in our life. 1,000,000% we've made mistakes. But we're still people. We should be treated like people, not sex cases. No. Despise them, right? As you know, right? But the facts are, prisoners are not necessarily bad people. Like I've said, before a lot of offenders, not all, before a lot of offenders have ever been offenders, they've first been victims. Grown up in care, sexually abused, physically abused, emotionally abused. Parents were addicts, got underlying mental health issues that were diagnosed, undiagnosed. Whatever the case may be, born into abject poverty, had a violent upbringing, became violent. Is that an offender, a violent offender? Or was that someone that was a product of their environment? I'll let you guys decide. This is the thing. But with this coronavirus, we need to... Right, you've got 1,000 officers, over 1,000 officers off sick, self-isolating, potentially with coronavirus or without. They've got symptoms. They can't go to work. Some of them will be milking it. Of course they will. Others are legit ill. 1,000 prison officers, right, off the landings, right? That impacts the prisoners, right? The prison system's overcrowded. Prison doesn't work, guys, by the way. Rehabilitation's a made-up word, politicians' word, right? Prisons, for me, especially private prisons, are about business, lucrative, money driven, everything, right? Now, like I've said, the prison system's bursting at the seams, and then you take over 1,000 officers off the landings. Prisons are fuming because they're being locked behind the door for sustained amounts of time, right? Like I've said, in prison, it's that little things become mountains, mountains become and can make like volcanoes, and volcanoes can erupt, right? So this is the situation that we're facing. So wouldn't it make more sense, right? I've just read a story tonight where they're saying that they could be the estimate, right, that they could be 800, and this is a fact. I'm not just throwing it out there, that there could be potentially 800 deaths within our prison. Right, you've got prisoners that have been knocked back on release on temporary license, prisoners that have been knocked back for the HDC or tag, right, home detention curfew, which is to you is tag, right? They've been knocked back, right? Like I said, there's prisoners that will be out on release on temporary license now. They should just cut them free, right? Everyone should just, well, obviously not cut them free, they are free, but you know what I'm saying, right? So this is the situation we're finding ourselves in, right? So like you've got a lot of older prisoners in the system. Now, not every old person in prison is a nonce. You might have people that, like I say, convicted murderers that had a minimum tariff or whatever the case may be, and they're coming towards the end of their sentence, right? They should be released. Not nonsense. Sex cases should not be released. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how many offences they've committed. They should not be released. I don't care how severe or he's done a lesser crime than him. Nonsense and sexual abuse and stuff like that, and paedophilia and rapists. Just no. They should be tested with the coronavirus. They should, like I said, when someone's got coronavirus, they should pop them up on their landings, on their wings, on their protection wings. And like I said, we shouldn't be testing this coronavirus on animals and people and everything. Try them on sex offenders. I genuinely do believe that. But like I've said, guys, with the prison system the way it is, right? Simply put, in my opinion, being a prisoner is the lowest rung on the welfare ladder. Now, like I've said, when you're in prison, healthcare as well. I've got this far. I've been talking for 22 and a half minutes. We've not even mentioned, right, healthcare within prisons. Healthcare within prisons, guys, is piss poor. It's disgusting. It's shocking. I've witnessed it firsthand. I've experienced prison healthcare, right? And it's shocking, guys. And the prisoners that I'm talking to, right, oh, yeah, they put a leaflet under our door. They put some hand sanitizer on the wing. It all got used, they didn't replace it, or it got nicked. They haven't replaced it. Then they're doing these things with the visits, but like I've said, so that, oh yes, whoa. So normally where a visit all will be flourishing, they're now like a spitful of prisoners and prisoners' families, right? But then they're still sending people to prison. The whole thing's a contradiction, right? And like I've said, when people contact me and inbox me and say that this is to wipe out the poor and prisoners and stuff, right? I'm not really into conspiracy theories, but I also believe in them to an extent. But like I've said, this is catastrophic for prisoners, guys. And like I've said, if you are aware of confirmed cases within a prison and you're not putting it out there to the wider public or to the media or whatever the case may be, or contacting me so I can get it out, right? You are part of the problem. You're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And if you've got a loved one that's in prison, shame on you. Absolute shame on you. Like I've said, we should be getting this out there. Like I said, by getting it out there, is it going to change anything? Probably not. But the facts are, the prison bosses, they want to keep a lid on the story. And I tell you what, guys, for me, honestly, as an ex-con that's still in contact with prisoners on a daily basis, as soon as the first prisoner dies from this coronavirus, and I believe it's a matter of time, or when they cancel prison visits across the board, you will see riots. Like I've said, the prison service in Northern Ireland have stopped social visits. The only reason, let me tell you, the only reason that they haven't cancelled prison visits here in England and Wales, because justice has been devolved to Scotland and they're in charge of their own, is because there will be riots. Do you really think, right, with everything that's happening within prisons, right? And they're skeletally staffed and stuff like that. And they're now working on some command center, and everything comes from the prison HQ, from the Ministry of Justice and stuff like that, right? Do you honestly believe that these prison officers want to drop their general duties and whatever they're doing to like I said, accompany like prison visits and everything? No, of course they don't. Of course you don't. They want to lock prisoners up, out of sight, out of mind. You can't cause any trouble if they're locked behind the door. We've got skeletal staff. We could be easily overrun here, right? Like I said, guys, the prison system's there for the taking. But these are the problems, man. And like I said, these officers that are going in and stuff, right? A lot of them, like I said, over 1,000 are off self-isolating, right? The prison system has long been a powder keg. And I genuinely, and I've said it in other videos, I believe that this coronavirus could be the straw that breaks the camel's back. And like I've said, as soon as they cancel prison visits or a prisoner dies, that's when I believe you're going to see prison riots, because there'll be mass panic then. Because like I say, a lot of prisoners, oh yeah, fuck, I don't need to wash my hands, bro, and this and that, right? And they'll dismiss it. You've got to think of all the different personalities in prison, guys. 85,000 of them, right? Prison populations goes up to about 86.5, right? In America, I think it's about 2.3 million, right? 86,600 and something it is here, right? But we've got about 85,000 in the system right now. Like I said, you've got to think of all the different personalities. You've got to think about those prisoners that are mentally ill, prisoners that might have OCD, prisoners that might have paranoid personality disorders, prisoners that are paranoid schizophrenics, right? And then they're getting told that this virus, and then they're looking at the news or doing teletext or they're reading newspapers, and there's deaths left, right and centre, and there's prison riots in Italy, and there's prison riots in Colombia, and there's people dying, young, old, dying. Obviously, you've got your at-risk people, like people with asthma, underlying health problems. Prisoners have got underlying health problems. You've got those that are over 70. We've got about 1,700 prisoners in the prison system that are aged 70 or over. Right? You've got pregnant women, you've got young infants that have not got an immune system yet, right? It's real shit, bro. Another thing as well, what's pissing me off, right? People are writing letters, not all prisons right now, I'm not aware of all prisons, but some prisons, you're sending letters in and the letters are not getting through because they're dealing with it, it could be contaminated, right? And what they should be doing, but not, I've heard that some prisons are, and I've heard that some prisons aren't, I've got to be honest. Some prisons are doing the right thing and photocopying or scanning the letters and then putting it in an envelope and then send it to the wing, and then it gets slid through the prisoner's door. So the prisoner gets his mail, albeit it's a photocopy of the original letter, right? Other prisons, and like I said, I've heard this from a private prison, they're sending letters in and they're just not getting passed over to the prisoner. They're not even getting scanned or photocopied. Now, in a private prison, first aim, last aim, financial gain. It would cost them a fortune in, I know it sounds mad, paper, right, to photocopy and everything and scan everything. But like I said, I was in Forest Bank. I was under the public protection unit. Forest Bank, you put a number in on your PIN, and because they don't want to ring landlines and mobiles because it would cost a fortune, they just clear the number. Fact. Like I said, I've been trying to get that story out for a while, but it is what it is. So like I've said, guys, it's very dangerous time. Like I said, you've got to think this lockdown, it's not easing because there's a lockdown. If it wasn't, why has a lockdown come? Yeah, because people have dismissed it and blah, blah, blah. The facts are, guys, prisoners are sitting ducks. Prisoners have got underlying health problems. Like I said, underlying health problems. Some prisoners have got problems that they don't even know. They might have a heart problem or a heart murmur or whatever the case may be. And when you go to prison and you've got health problems or underlying health problems or significant health problems or cancer or something like that, very real risk you could leave prison in a body bag. Medical negligence, guys, has contributed to deaths in our prison. Alan Marshall up in Scotland a few years ago was murdered by prison officers. They're immune from prosecution. Other prisoners take their own life. God bless it. God bless those prisoners. May they rest in peace. Right? Other prisoners die because, like I said, they've just been neglected medically. It's a fact, guys. Anyway, I've rambled on for 29 minutes, guys, so I'm going to leave it here. Sorry if I've not kept your attention. I'm trying to get it all out there, guys. If you've got any stories or whatever, bring them to me, like I said, and I'll try and get my best to get them out. You don't have to contact me. You can do it directly. I'll put my number in the description, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. subscribe even. Cody out.